Welcome back, everybody. How's it going? So today we are going to be doing a bunch of things, but firstly, we are going to be starting off in uh, where are we going to be starting off? Central Africa. Oh yeah, I remember this. Basically, all of these countries they're low-key gonna not exist anymore, and that's basically gonna because most of these countries the people live i- like really close to the blue team. So basically, people just leaving and leaving and leaving is gonna cause the eventual collapse of all three of these countries uh, after the latest year. Basically, 50% of the population leaves this year because of a pandemic that happens in these countries and because of the lack of opportunities. So after that, the blue team basically signs a new law giving all these guys free blue team citizenship, which is basically the nail in the coffin as everyone decides to just move to the blue team. And those who are left feel pretty sad because the countries just stopped existing. I know recently in the series I've just been killing off a bunch of countries, but bro, we're trying to get to episode 100. Firstly, there's only so much you can do with one country over and over again. So obviously some countries are gonna have to die, and it's mostly the countries that we haven't really done anything with. So the countries, because I've decided, you know what? For episode 100, we need to build up. I have a plan. We need to do that build up. But countries are just they're taking up space that contribute absolutely nothing to the storyline. They need to go. So, yeah, sadly, we had to lose these African countries who have been with us for a very long time since the start of the series. But let's be honest, I don't think I've ever like revisited these guys. So that is that. Uh, yeah, that's gonna happen. And then the second thing that's actually gonna happen is these guys are actually going to a bunch of people from the north over here are actually gonna move even higher north, and they're actually gonna create their own little country called the North Central African Republic. I guess I want to take this color right here and put it over here and take that and put it over here and take that and blacken it up a little bit and then take that and that is going to be the new country's color. Actually, I want it to be something light, so we'll take that and we'll just make it lighter. Yeah, that looks. I like how that looks. That looks like the ocean. That honestly looks like the ocean, and I don't think I like that it looks like the ocean. Let me just. It does not look that much like the ocean. We will keep it. Um. Yeah, but basically it's a bunch of people because this place over here in the north has been getting genocided. Basically, like, yeah, the government has been killing a lot of people there. So yeah, a lot of people move, which means um major parts of this country are going to start collapsing because the population from nearby countries has started to move away. That is the main problem with Central Africa. It's basically the fact that there was no permanent population to begin with, and that is finally coming to bite them because all these countries are slowly collapsing now, and there's nothing we can really do to save them because the time has passed. They're still really broke compared to the rest of the world. Like even other countries in Africa are way richer. Like you go just a little bit south to these two, they're so much richer. Like it's not even funny. And then also, probably the biggest killer is the fact that there's a massive blue team settlement right here and right here. So yeah, all that is eventually gonna lead to these guys kind of collapsing even more. Over here, they're gonna lose this, and they're gonna be left with a really small country. And the blue team is actually offered to buy this. However, these guys are going to say no, which is going to be probably their biggest mistake because the blue team in response is basically going to say, all right, fine, we don't want this either then, and we're just not going to export to you guys. We're not going to go through the pain of going through uncolonized land to export to you guys. You guys don't even pay that much anyways. And so they just colonize this little big settlement right here of people and integrate those guys, and that's it. So now this country officially has no one exporting to it, and I think we can just take off another chunk of land right here because this is all old red team land, and no one probably lives here anymore either. So as you can see, slowly by slowly, Central Africa is crumbling, but in a good way because a lot of new Central African countries are coming. Eventually, after like all of this destruction that has happened here, the country is going to actually just completely like dissolute, like decolonize. I don't know. Um, yeah, the blue team is also actually gonna leave their settlement here because I feel like I don't think they'd want to keep this anymore, just because of the fact that they could probably just move this up a little bit, up over here. Actually, you know what? I feel like they would expand this even more now since there is no more Central Africa. They're definitely going to expand this, and I think they're definitely going to get rid of this. I honestly feel like since there's no more Central African stuff in the middle, there's no way that they can really connect the two sides of this ocean from one place anymore. Because the reason they had this was because they were making that road that goes through the countries over here, goes through Central Africa, and then goes through there. But that doesn't really exist anymore. Also, remember episode 100. We will be visiting the Americas very soon. Yeah, blue team gets that done, and actually from here we can finally get this housekeeping out of the way. These guys are actually gonna get rejected from the alliance, so they have had their application getting sat on and sleeping on, and blue team has been thinking about it for a while now. They are going to actually decide that they're not gonna be taking these guys into the alliance, and that's honestly going to cause a really big thing, because these guys are going to be like, fine, don't take us into the alliance, and they're actually going to reach out to Abuja. So these two are going to start working really closely. We're actually going to spend a lot of money in here to pump up these guys and these guys to fight the blue team eventually. I think we can move on from there though. East Siberia, yes. So basically the same thing over there. I don't even want to get into the story of this. There's a big war that breaks out over here, and this war is absolutely devastating because the green guys are gonna go invade, and they're actually gonna buy illegal. They're gonna buy illegal weapons that are currently illegal in their own country, and they're gonna buy these weapons from the Mughals. Now these weapons are the same ones that the Mughals are using in their civil war. Difference between those guys using it and these guys using it, and why it's gonna be so detrimental, is because there's a lot of people that live in India, bro. Like a lot. What is India's population right now? It's like a billion, 1.4 billion. There's like 10 people that live up here. If you use weapons that are made to cause that much destruction over here, it's like what, like 1%? Maybe it kills 1,000 people. That's like 0.00 something 1% of the population. That's like 100% of the population here. So they basically buy big weapons, big explosives, and they use them, and they kind of just destroy everything because this place doesn't have that much stuff anyways. So when you use weapons that are made to destroy that much stuff on a place that's like small town, it honestly does really good, but it also defeats the purpose. And these guys realize that really fast as well, because the pink team completely collapses, and the land is not even in the it's not even in the situation, in the circumstances to really even be annexed. Now these guys themselves have spent so much money on that they honestly capitulate. They honestly are forced to sell this little thing just to get enough money to keep their government budget for one more year. However, that year is eventually going to run out, and they're actually going to completely collapse now. I think you can see where I'm going with this. Siberia is definitely going to be clean once again. From here, the blue team is going to realize there's nothing left to do. Shanghai is nearing its end as well, because, or not its end as a country, but its end as a superpower and a competitor to the blue team. Actually, I think that's already happened. No, that has already happened. They are already no longer a superpower or a competitor to the blue team. Why is their alliance thing still here? Who are they in an alliance with, bro? I don't think there's anyone in an alliance with these guys. I think I just forgot to erase that. Yeah, Loki. I remember it was just the Mughals. Yeah, we can erase that. That is yeah, that's my fault. But yeah, with that, these guys are eventually also just gonna be forced out, just because of the fact that who are they gonna trade with, bro? Their navy is not good enough for this. And if they want to build a better navy, they're gonna have to do it themselves, because they can't buy. They don't have the money to buy more ships, and they don't have they don't even have the resources to communicate with other people. So eventually, the country is probably just gonna run out of food and die off, because you are not growing up. You're not growing nothing up there. And I just want to take this time to quickly mention, while I'm thickening up these borders, that if you feel sad that we have basically undone a lot of the stuff that's been happening the past couple of things, don't worry, bro. I told you I have a plan. Episode 100. It's gonna be fun, bro. It's gonna be fun because from then on we will have an even bigger map to work with, since we will have a we're gonna have the Americas. Yeah, the Americas. That's gonna be completely new land. Nothing has happened to it yet, so it's gonna be really fun. But for that, we need content to last 30 episodes. But also, more importantly, we need there to be some more realism. I'm gonna be honest, because a lot of these countries have just been sitting around. I feel like they just would not exist for this long, and they would have died out way before. I know I'm yapping a little bit. Let me finish this up. Okay, let's move on from there. What's the next thing? Saigon. Oh yes, Saigon. Finally, something's gonna happen. So, if you guys remember, all four of these guys were in an alliance, and these two are competing against each other. And the main successor of Saigon is finally going to make that first step into basically full domination. and they're gonna launch the invasion. And it's actually gonna be really deadly because the capital is right there, bro. That capital is falling almost immediately, and the fall of that capital means the capitulation of the entire north because that capital is the only major city over there. So that's all gonna fall. But the blue team is gonna see this and they're gonna be like, "Nah, we are not about to let this happen, bro. Nah, that is not a good thing, bro. That is like yeah." So the blue team is actually gonna move in and they're gonna occupy, not invade, occupy all of this land. All of this land that I've just highlighted under the blue team, this is not under blue team control. Blue team just has a really strong military presence there. These guys will still have to fight with that in there, but yeah, these whoa, these guys are going to continue pushing, and it's just looking really bad. I'm gonna be honest. Bunch of rebellions are gonna start happening, obviously, especially in the blue team area, because yeah, the people are gonna be like, okay, our actual government has just sold us out to the blue team. And yeah, eventually Saigon is just going to march down all of this, and they're going to take all of this, and they're going to take all of that, and they're going to have united the North and the South because this stuff is going to completely collapse into uncolonized area. And that is going to be more than enough to basically signal to these guys that they need to actually come up with a strategy to win this war because there's just a little time left before the Saigon successor state is going to be strong enough to actually unite the country again. Well, I mean, some of the country. The South is never coming back. I'm gonna be honest. That is definitely about to become its own country. That is never about to join these guys again. Now, these guys themselves, the president's really well liked. However, he has no son and he's about to die. So, like he's the one that's won all these wars for these guys. But like, bro is in his 80s and he has no child. So he is cooked. This country is so cooked because right when bro is dead, there's about to be like 6 different revolutions in there. I'm gonna be honest. Next up, the Japanese storyline. Oh my god, I forgot about that. The blue team is looking at Asia way more closely now, especially Shanghai, but especially Japan because these guys on one evening are actually gonna launch. Is this the same color? Do these guys own this? That is this. Oh my god, I completely forgot they own that. Yeah. Anyways, these guys are gonna launch an invasion of these guys. And that's basically because they need more land so they can actually counteract these guys. They're gonna launch that invasion. It's gonna be deadly. It's gonna capture the capital almost immediately. But this is not where the story comes in, because these guys are also gonna act. They're gonna be like, okay, we're not about to let these guys get the entire economy and population and everything. So they're going to launch their own invasion. They're gonna capture quite a bit of land. But as they're capturing that, these guys are also capturing land, and it's just gonna take one. I'm gonna be honest. It takes one bullet misfired at the wrong army, and it's about to be World War Japan. So yeah, the two meet over there. It's looking like everything's gonna be okay, and then boom, surprise attack. I'm gonna let you guess. It happened over here because the tensions are escalating. So the border soldiers absolutely hate each other right now. But yeah, I'm gonna let you guess which one of these guys did that. Who fires the first shot? I'm gonna let you guess. Guess? You have it? Okay. It was actually the blue team. You guessed wrong. It was actually the blue team. So blue team peacekeeping troops that were here basically supporting these guys. One of them gets kind of scared, and this one has actually fought and actually has served on the border of the red and blue team. And yeah, he gets really scared. Bro probably remembers all of this that happened, and he's like, you know what? These guys actually start chanting some anti these guys slogans, and they're like, yeah, we're gonna come fight you. And he gets scared and he shoots the first shot, and war gets declared. And these guys are not about to forgive that. They immediately launch that invasion, and they capture so much, maybe a little bit too much. They capture so much land, and let's just color these two things in right now because they're basically the same. Actually, we can probably just color it like that. Yeah. So it's honestly not looking good for Japan at all because their two strongest countries, or actually their two only countries now, are fighting, and these guys are actually getting pretty badly beaten up, and the blue team is forced to get involved on their side completely. Which I mean, the blue team should have been involved. This is literally the blue team's fault, and the blue team launches a massive invasion over here, and they also we're not going to give up there. Their navy is really good. Remember that. So they're actually going to completely just blockade all of this, everything. Every piece of Japan is now under. Every piece of Japanese water is now under blue team control. Which I mean, if you look at it, maybe that isn't such a good thing for the other Japanese country either, because they've just lost the sovereignty over their water. And let's be real, the blue team is never withdrawing from here. Yeah, let me fill in these gaps. So every piece of water right now that Japan that's in this area is currently under. What did I just do? Okay, anyways, is currently under Japanese blue team control, and the blue team themselves they're gonna start making multiple landings, obviously, because like they control the navy, obviously. So like, or they control the waters. Um. Anyways, these guys are gonna start sprinting down because they realize they can just take over the capital. And yeah, together with the blue team, they're gonna cut off the capital from the rest of the country, and they're also gonna start pushing down over here, and they're gonna be able to actually push completely out of there. And it looks like together with the blue team, these guys are able to do a lot because the blue team is also actually going to capture this center right here. They're going to invade from both sides and capture that. Then these guys are going to capture both of these regions, and from here Japan is going to surrender, or like the Tokyo side is going to surrender. Yeah, very good job for the blue team. I can't lie. They have done something very smart. They have used their navy in the way that I intended them to use it, because let's be real, they have not been using their navy that much recently. They've been trying to use their land army, which is it's okay. It's the strongest, but it's not the strongest by a lot. You know, like it's not overwhelming like their navy is. Anyways, Japan is once again united under one federation, one country, one ideology, one alliance, and the center of all of it, the capital, is on an island that no one lives on. So I'm sure that's going to cause problems in the future. But for now, the majority of people do not like the current government and they do not like the blue team. So there's a lot of protests that are going to be going on here. But you know what? It's better. There's a silent majority that prefers this new version of Japan rather than the old Japan. So I'm sure if these guys find a way to get that silent majority to not become silent anymore, then I'm sure they could probably maintain order. The problem is that silent majority is a bunch of like little kids, probably like kids who have who because a lot of the old people who were like alive when there was the original Japan and its original empire, a lot of them are like, bro, we used to own all of Shanghai basically, and now we have just went through a civil war and we're basically a puppet state of the blue team. So that's why they're hating. But like, I'm sure you can make them not hate. The kids, they don't know all that, so they're like, you know what, we're supported by the greatest country in the world right now. So yeah. Anyways, moving on from there, Stanistan. Stanistan is actually gonna go through a very brutal civil war in which they will end up losing this part of the country. So yeah, let's do that. So basically, a revelation is made because the villagers living here. Remember, this thing is military only. This is a big military base, basically, because this used to be owned by the Mughals, but they did not own all of this when they owned that. So they used to live here. And Stanistan came through, and they completely destroyed the Mughals in a war. And the Mughals, the prince fled, and he basically ended up over here. And then he created the capital. He created the big country. Started from the north. Now it's ending from the north, so that's kind of ironic. But yeah, basically, yeah, that's quick little short history for you on on that piece of land. But now Stanistan basically took that land, and then they made it into a big military base because they realized it was really dense and no one could go into it, and they've been hiding it from the entire world. No one, even most countries, don't know it exists. Most people don't know it exists. Maybe only like the top presidents of countries know it exists. No one really needs to or wants to talk about it because everyone knows that they're not about to get into that no matter what. I think most people do not know it exists. I think they've probably been hiding it from even the countries, even countries that are probably in like Europe. Any country that's not like right on its border probably thinks this land is uncolonized still. But yeah, basically it's that protected. They have a bunch of military stuff over there, military secrets, new weapons, and a few villagers' kids while playing soccer. Okay, let me edit that story because no one's playing soccer and then their ball gets kicked all the way over here. That's unrealistic. This is a lot of land. This is like yeah, this is quite a bit of land. They go on a hunting expedition. A few families they just go on a hunting expedition and they get lost a little bit and they end up seeing light. And they're like, oh wait, light. That means there's civilization. And they're like, oh maybe we ended up in a different part of Stanistan. So they go there, but it's it's honestly it's pretty scary. A lot of them get shot at and they're forced to run, and they get inside and then they realize what has just happened. Uh, they see the Stan Standing flag and they're like, oh, look, Stan Stan. But then they see the military flag and they're like, wait, are we on a military base? And yeah, a bunch of stuff goes down. They go back, they tell stories. A bunch more people are like, you know what, let's finally go there. And a large amount of people from the nearby village go. They figure out it's a military base. They're like, you know what is there? And people start protesting because they're like, what if it's a bunch of our country's wealth? Like, what if the president has been hiding a bunch of gold there? And yeah, these protests get really violent. Like, the village that discovered it, that place completely rebels. And that rebellion actually, the protests which turn violent, they actually start kicking out the federal government from a lot of territory, and that spreads pretty much a lot. And Stan's government gets scared. They're like, we don't want to lose all the South just because of this. And they finally reveal it's a military base, and the world is shocked. The world, like, a lot of countries actually come out and say that they were suspecting that this land was under Stani control, but they didn't know what it was being used for. And a lot of countries are like, you know what, you are definitely getting condemned for that. And the blue team actually leads a lot of sanctions, which is definitely going to hit hard. But these guys, they basically are still confused why it's cut off, and a lot of research gets leaked. And one of the plans are plans on how to launch an invasion of Persia, how to launch an invasion of these guys, Caspia, Red Team. It's a bunch of invasion plans, but in the midst of all of it, there's a like blueprint for a weapon that these guys were making a long time ago together with the blue team. And the blue team left it, but they've still been making it, and it's basically uh a really good version of the catapult. Let's just say that, because I'm not creative enough to actually think of what it could be. Also, the protests go in the middle of all this; they keep growing. But it's basically a really good weapon. I'll let you use your imagination. It's not any modern weapon because we're not there yet, but like it's a good weapon. And a lot of countries start getting scared. But even more than all of that, there's a bunch of stuff that's basically found on corruption, and that is basically because there's a bunch of money, a bunch of people, and more importantly, a bunch of political prisoners in there. So everyone's like, "Yo, free those guys!" And actually, the leader of the opposition party and the strongest party, technically, if they were allowed to be voted in, the strongest party, he's over there. So people really get mad, and these poor regions where he's more popular, they start rebelling a lot, and it gets big. These guys get really scared, and over here, the protesters start basically taking over a bunch of it, and one of the protesters are and a few of the protesters are able to free the guy, and he basically takes control of this rebel government, and he immediately rises to the top of it, and he says that we're basically going to civil war. And now while he's doing this, on the other hand, there's Mughals that actually live in Sanstan who've heard stories about their old land, and there's Mughals over here, and they all want to return now because they're like, you know what, give us our land back. We didn't know it was still colonized. We didn't know you were using it like this. And a lot of the native Mughal population that was being heavily oppressed, because there was like maybe 1,000 actual citizens living here, like very little. It was mostly like families of Stanistanis who like married into that family, and they were a part of the military, so they got to stay. Basically, a lot of that population, a lot of the Mughals that were forced to then move over here, a lot of them start returning, and they start fighting for this land back. And a Mughal separatist thing that basically wanted control of this land anyways. Uh, they and the rebels actually end up fighting a lot as well over this because they want this, and they actually wanted the separation of the East, and they want that to become a Mughal state, but now they want this to become a Mughal state. And they actually claim one of the leaders is actually an old leader from way back to the prince's day when they went over here, and he actually decided to stay behind, and when the invasion came he actually escaped over here. But he basically takes power, and he's like, we are going to form the new successor state to the Mughals, which makes both sides of the Mughals over here mad because they're like, bro, no, we are literally battling for legitimacy over Mughal land, and these guys are out here claiming that they're the actual successor state. So both of them get mad. The blue team pulls out, the red team pulls out. No one really wants to support these guys, but they still end up taking it because of the sheer amount of pressure on the government. A lot of people in this rebel thing are also like, you know what? Yeah, just let them have that. They deserve it. And a lot of people just don't want anything to do with that. And eventually, from here, I think the capital is going to probably just get overtaken by rebels, and that's going to lead to the capitulation of the country. Actually, maybe not. I think that the federal government would not give up yet because they're gonna definitely start using the weapons that they've been making. And now the weapons, they're not that good. Like, they're good for maybe these guys, but like the blue team has better weapons. So if they wanted to, they could have bought it. But I think the fact that they're making it on their own is pretty scary because like it's probably the best that a really poor country like these guys, it's probably the best out of them that they've been able to make themselves, but it's still way behind what the blue team makes. So, anyways, these guys are able to basically push back, keep the rebels at bay, and from here, the rebel control is obviously going to start weakening, as major parts of the country are going to, get reclaimed alongside the capital, which is actually going to be found in complete ashes as the president's home is actually burnt down. And yeah, from here, the rebels are going to get pushed back pretty far into the east of the country. And yeah, let me make a peace treaty and get back to you on that one. All right. So as you can see, a lot of parts of this country of actually let me redraw the parts that I took away. So yeah, a lot of the um a lot of Stan's east is actually going to get completely uncolonized, and that is actually going to be because of the fact that these guys, the new government, was basically campaigning on the fact that they were using the hate of they were using they were basically saying that the main government is really bad because they're not giving the land back to the people that originally had it, and they're using it for military stuff. And basically, a lot of military sites get found in the north. So basically, to just stay consistent, they're forced to get rid of the north. And in the east, the Mughals start protesting because they're like, you know what, we want our eastern security back. Because remember, Stan did not even know the Mughals existed until they colonized all this land, and they were able to use that to invade the Mughals. But yeah. So because of that history piece, they're gonna basically force the new government, in exchange for keeping its popularity, off of the anger of the people towards how Mughal people were treated by Stan. In order to just keep that anger flowing and to keep themselves looking like the good guys, they're gonna basically be forced to get rid of all this. And the new Stani country, like I said, is now been created, direct competitor to both of these guys, for the record. And now the thing is, I mean Mughal, not Stan, but the thing is, the culture between these Mughals and these Mughals is really different. The Mughals over here are old Mughals. They're more like Stanistani Persian culture, more like Shanghai culture, because there used to be that big countries connecting these two regions, so they probably got a lot of culture from there as well. But these guys are like Indian culture, like the Bengal Republic, like blue team, a lot really heavily blue team, definitely Himalayas. Yeah, so the culture difference is big. These guys really don't consider these guys even Mughal anymore. These guys don't consider these guys Mughal. Yeah, definitely going to cause a big war between the two over here. But these guys basically want to control all of this land right now. They're like, all this land belongs to us, including actually these two countries as well. But yeah, speaking of those two countries, all of this is actually going to result in a new war between the rebels and the Mughals and the new Mughal government. And that's basically, I think this war is probably going to be like one of the final war. Oh wait, oh, I was wrong. Shanghai does still have an alliance with these guys. I did not remember that. I thought we got rid of that. My fault. Let me put that dot back. That is my fault. Yeah, I think the blue team took that. Yeah, they took that Mughal thing over here, and then the Bengali thing is still there, but probably also gonna get captured soon. But yeah, let's color in the these guys. All right, ready? So basically, these guys are they're just gonna launch an invasion. There's no justification this time. I'm gonna be honest. They just are gonna seize the opportunity of these guys going through a recession and an economic depression, and a lot of the yeah. Basically, how this is actually gonna break out is gonna be because a village over here is gonna actually call these guys for help, and they're gonna be like, "Yo, please come free us, bro!" And they're gonna send a few troops because the people living there, they mostly supported these guys, but there was a large military presence, so the military was bullying the people there, and the people are gonna basically call these guys for help. These guys are gonna come, the two militaries are gonna shoot at each other, and it's gonna be a whole thing, and it's gonna result in an all-out war with each other. See, that's how delicate the situation actually is here. Like, small things can start big fights here. Like, that should have been a skirmish. That should not have been a full war. But you know what? It is what it is. Um, yeah, the rebels are actually gonna pretty much dominate right now. Obviously, like always. But these guys, paired with Shanghai, are actually gonna launch one last thing, and that is gonna be a big blitzkrieg invasion that's supposed to take over the entire north. And they launch it, and it's a united front. It's a big front, and they just launch it, and they're basically saying that this is going to be their final chance. Either they do this and they take a bunch of major cities, or they collapse. Remember, this is an artificial capital. The actual like big cities are like up here. It's like these guys are spending all of their resources to capture those big cities, and they're actually going to do really good. They're actually going to capture a lot of stuff. A lot of people are actually going to get faith back in the old government, and they're gonna push back pretty hard. They're actually also going to get pretty like on the outskirts of these guys' capital, but the blue team is gonna get involved, and they're gonna basically be like either Shanghai pulls out its troops, which are like 80% of the troops fighting here effectively. So basically, they're crucial. Also, they start getting pushed back pretty hard as well. So either that happens, or the blue team's sending in their troops, and Himalayas sending in their troops as well. And yeah, these guys do not listen, so the blue team is gonna send in their troops alongside the Himalayas and basically the rest of the Indian subcontinent. They're gonna do pretty well. They're actually gonna launch a couple of little border clashes over here. That's not gonna be that big of a deal. These guys are gonna actually be able to capitulate the north completely, and they're gonna launch an even bigger invasion from here. Then, so far, not going good. Shanghai is gonna be forced to pull back because protests are gonna break out in the entire country, demanding a complete pullout from the Mughal thing because it's wasting so much of the country's economy. And also, since Japan is now completely unified under the blue team, Shanghai's really scared because these guys are definitely going to come take Korea again. But yeah, back over here, it's not looking good. These guys are going to continue the pushback into actual Mughal territory, or like government territory, federal territory, whatever. This is going to be handed over to rebel control almost immediately because the blue team doesn't want that much involvement. And then from here, it's not looking good. I'm gonna be honest. They're gonna get all the way over here, and these guys are gonna be forced to sign a brutal ceasefire. That's basically going to actually uh force them to agree to no Shanghai troops on the border. So Shanghai's troops can no longer be on the border of the two rebel countries. They can only be like they can still be in here. They just can't be border troops. I think you get it. Um, and that is a big blow to these guys because about 30% of their border troops are currently troops from Shanghai. The Shanghai is sent over because their own troops are running short at a rapid pace right now because they're just not able to keep up with the absolutely growing size of the north. The blue team rebels, the blue team supported rebels, they're absolutely just dominating. And also after the blitzkrieg into the north, it actually backfires a lot because a lot of people move into the new southern conquered cities, but also the artificial capital. It actually boosts in population, becomes the most populated city now, and also the richest city because a lot of people take the security concerns over there very seriously. They're like, oh, wait, this is a security concern living up there. Yeah, all in all, today's episode was very long. It's okay. We went through a lot today. Uh, I honestly forgot to record for 7 days. I thought I had something like planned for that. I thought I had something like pre-recorded for that. I did not. So yeah, that is my fault. But we are back in business. 7 day break. That was crazy. I hope a longer video than usual makes up for it. I'll see you in the next one. Make sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Goodbye.